Hi, this evening I'm going to be asking the question. I saw some articles about whether Stephen Miller is the Joseph Goebbels of World War II and the Nazis. I'm like, well, let's look into it. Because I've been tracking the parallels for a long time now. So, okay. So, I mean, here are all of my, the deep state that I've been doing. We're into the 20th presentation. Um, and this was the Stephen Miller speech at Charlie Kirk Memorial. And that's what started articles, whether he's the new, uh, if this is a Joseph Goebbels, uh, as accused by the woke left. So here, I mean, if anybody who's following me, the very, very few people in the world, I've been canceled by everybody. But I mean, my favorite is lately from Nicole King in Marbella. We'll be getting into Spain here. Was like, well, you're just one. She was my neighbor in Madrid when this whole thing started. Um, and she's bitching about problems in Spain, banking problems, legal issues. I'm like, excuse me, I've been working on that stuff for 18 years, and here you are bitching about it. Um, See, it's gonna bite you in the ass if you don't do anything. Anyway, she's like, well, you're just one person among so many of us who are all against you. I was just listening to Candace Owens about Freud. I'm like, yeah, we everybody in family court reform, we know all about Freud and how that crazy stuff been covering up the sexual abuse of children since the beginning. Um, so my focus has been on the influence of women. So that's really, and these are all of the different books that I have read. Well, over here, not all of the Reich stuff. I would like to read a lot of that. But you know, how we got here. Uh, so, um, there's just been a lot of propaganda when I've been looking into the rise of the Nazi Party, the rise of Hitler. Hitler was this great, monster, and of course he was a dictator, and he was, like no philanthrope. But you know, this is just part of the history of Europe. I mean, we had gone through, you had the 100 Wars, the 30-year wars, uh, the French Revolution, uh, the whole thing with the Jewish problem, as it was called. I mean, Joe Kennedy was even, I forget, there was some, comment him, the Jewish problem. And this was a discussion with the industrialist, um, in the rise to power of Hitler. And because they were in bed with it. And if it hadn't been for where's my book? It's the rise of the Fourth Reich. If it hadn't been for all of the American industrialists, uh, the Third Reich wouldn't have risen. Um, the Third Reich was a backlash of the what went on after World War I, and World War I was just here. They have it even here. You had the 48ers, where Europeans who participated in support of the revolutions of 1848 that swept Europe. So, like, we can go back and forth throughout history, and we just keep on repeating itself. So, you know, the Jewish problem, it wasn't, well, it's two, because it's not with the money lenders, the Christians, the Catholics, they couldn't lend money. So the Jews took on that they were allowed to, they could lend money, excuse me, they couldn't lend money and charge interest rates. So that's how the Jews kind of cornered the market on the financial markets and banking systems. So that's a historical fact. But also then you combine it with the Jewish population. They didn't, this is why Israel was supposed to be the solution. They have a nation for them, and you know, a sense of nationality, because they were these scattered people, and that just kept on getting, you know, displaced. They they would make money when in the boom economies, but when things would go bust, they would be used as the scapegoats, and you know, get rid of them, get rid of them. It's their fault. It's their fault. Where it was everybody's fault. Either overspending, over indebtedness. It just repeats and repeats and repeats itself. Um, Particularly when you went off barter economies, and as you got into the industrial revolution, and really complex economies, rather than just, you know, baking bread and killing beef, you know, the more than just the village. So by the 1700s, you started, you had the ideas, but you had these, how shall I say it, your economies and your societies got much more complex and much more uh, susceptible to speculation, con artists, rather than just, you know, hardworking people who, it's like, wait a second, that guy over there is not working. We'll put, you know, like, that's not going to happen in a village. Anyway, so everybody's got to get off the bandwagon of, this was an isolated incident. Uh, you know, the Jews were, you know, good and everybody else was bad, and I mean, that doesn't excuse any atrocities that were done, but if everybody, it's the same with all of the other subjects, whether religion, race, gender, or anything. uh you know, stop gaslighting everybody with bullshit. So um it, the thing is what I keep on trying to bring everybody back into on this issue is everybody's screaming, you're a fascist, both sides, the left and the right, because a fascist is really just somebody who can't listen to somebody else. So yeah, that you got fascism on both sides, but the issue which started and how shall I say, legitimized the persecution of the Jews were the Nuremberg laws, which stripped the Jews of their citizenship and civil rights. That's what I've been screaming about for 18 years. And what, you know, I've been building cases. In fact, the case that has been submitted by Barbara Stone of Florida, at least it's my understanding, I go on what I have been told. Uh, she, I know she launched that, you know, some, you know, she was going to be a presidential candidate. But anyway, my understanding, since 2021, 2022, we do have the submission with the International Criminal Court, under what she has built the argumentation that what has been going on in family court, which has totally stripped parents all parents, both the squabbling and the greed has stripped all parents and everybody of their rights, children and parents, litigants of their rights, with lawyers laughing all the way to the bank, and that those are, the same as the Nuremberg laws of the Nazis it was 1933, or here it was 1935. So, it's like, you guys, yeah, would you stop like saying it's not true, it's not true? You sound like an older sister. Um, yeah, it's true. And there are some real parallels here, and I'm looking and I'm like, well, actually, yeah, I think Stephen Miller is the Goebel, and Elon Musk actually sounds like Charles Lindenberg. Although I don't know, I think, well, Candace, I don't, Candace Owens is a big fan of him, but because Lindenberg, he was a very, very interesting person. And I think he really had a good handle on what was going on at the time. Unfortunately, nobody listened to him. So anyway, we're back with the Nuremberg laws. So like, stop squabbling and focus, and realize that draining the swamp is not just calling the National Guard to come and get rid of a bunch of thugs in poor neighborhoods. You gotta get rid of the nonprofits, all of these people, all of these PhDs, the UN, the World Bank, the IMF. They've been hijacked by the woke minoritist, feminist. I mean, it's just, if you don't go after those people, you're never going to, uh, you got to break up the mafia of the woke that controls Washington, D.C., and all of the government agencies here, and all of the private sector as well. I mean, I've been fighting them all single-handedly for past 18 years. I keep on contacting lawyers. Nobody will help me, even Morgan and Morgan, who Bobby Kennedy worked for. Right after I was fired for supporting Bobby Kennedy in his presidential bid, and I contact them. I didn't realize they were partners, or they had been partners, and no, not interested. Okay, so the thing is, one of the people, this is from my boarding school in England, Cobham Hall, uh, Marianne Seigart. Now, her book, The Authority Gap, Why Women Are Not Taken Seriously and What We Can Do About It. I'm like, well, start behaving seriously and people take you seriously. She's blocked me from emails from her because I don't know. I was apparently, trashed by the feminists from the beginning. I mean, the feminists. These are supposed to be women's rights groups, but I mean, I was told at the beginning that I was labeled a mole. I have no idea why. Everybody decided that I was some enemy or something like that because I wasn't going around and kissing everybody's ass. I don't know. I've looked at facts and that's it. And everything that I've posted is what I am finding in my research. Now, when I was a child, I mean, I went to some of the best schools in the world, and they always said, "Oh Lord, yeah." And even my mom would say the same thing. Yeah, I remember one teacher, she said, "Oh, we don't agree with what Quimby has to say, but she is always on top of her evidence and facts and argues her case." So, you don't like what I have to say, I'm sorry, but don't just say, "Shut up, stupid." You don't know what you're talking about, because I do. Um, so, and this really, oh gosh. Okay. So this is Marianne Seigart, and I just found this article that she wrote. And I mean, I was just like floored because you know, as I say, she blocks me. So here at last, Marianne Seigart, my family story of fear, exile, and misery has come good. See, this is really, the Jewish, and you can't all the Jews, but the Jewish, how shall I say, ruling elite, the Zionists, uh, playing everybody for a fool. My father had an implacable hatred of Germans. Bloody Huns, he would shout. Delicious in the UK, she's been living. Um, where was I? Uh, Deliberately within their earshot if a German family walked past. We children would be mortified, but we also understood. The Germans, after all, had gouged him out of a comfortable childhood in Vienna, murdered some of his family, threatened to kill him and his mother, forced him into exile, and left him psychologically ravaged for the rest of his life. Well, yeah, he had a cushy life in Vienna because his father was Rudy Singer, who was basically the Andrew Mellon of Andrew Mellon was the Secretary of Treasury and was blamed for the crash of 29 in the United States, whereas Singer was blamed for the crash of 29 in Vienna and Germany in that area. And they have said you can't blame it on one person because it's a series of events and it just history repeats itself. However, you know, excuse me, if Marianne Seigart cannot understand, like how history is repeating itself, well, she's not some great intellect that she believes. And this is precisely the problem. All the feminists, just want to jump in the bandwagon of this intellectualism that we've had for almost 200 years. This is what gave rise to the Nazi fascism. Because too many chefs spoiling the soup, and that's why academics were deported along with the Jews. So anyway, uh, and now yeah, and that's why we were forced into exile. And now here I was, 80 years later, at the German embassy in Belgrave Square, London, heaving a pile of documents onto the counter. I'm terribly sorry, I said to the gleaming Aryan young man behind the perspex screen, but I'm afraid I have 16 applications for German citizenship. We'll see why she has so many applications. Wonderful, he replied, beaming, as he took the paperwork for me. My siblings are children and my sister's grandchildren, along with the birth, marriage, and death certificates of my father and his parents, and the evidence that they had been persecuted and forced to flee. Wonderful. Really? What would my father have thought? Like most British children of my generation, my siblings and I had been brought up on war comics. Donner und Blitzen, Akte, oh yeah, I don't speak German, Schweiben, and movies in which German officers had more dashing uniforms, but the British were more heroic. We relished the escapes from Colditz and the escapades of the guns of Navarone. Not so many children, though, in the schools to which we went in the 1960s and 70s had grown up with family experience of persecution and murder. We had the added dimensions of seeing Germans not just as the baddies in the war, but as those who gassed my father's relations in concentration camps and very nearly killed him and his mother, too. Yeah, well, I've been screaming bloody murder about what's going on in Guantanamo for I don't know how long. Um, the conditions of the children at the border, and Marianne Seigart, she's giving TED Talks and selling her books. I mean, really, I understand why I got so pissed off and threw all of the academics. in Germany and said, everybody's going to start working here. I, I got a whole slew of people I want to throw out of Washington for that. Go and get it, go and get an honest job. It's the same. I mean, the journalists, they've all become podcasters and they're doing the same thing. I mean, my God, all I have to do is go to any of the think tank and listen to the dribble or country club or cocktail party or whatever. This whole blah, 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 blah. Sure, you got to discuss stuff, but if that's all you're going to do, people are going to, the masses are going to get pissed off. So my father, Paul Seigart, had grown up as the only child of Marguerite Seigart, amongst the first woman to study law at the Vienna University. See, that whole thing about women never went to universities before is bullshit. Everywhere I turn around, everybody I know, their parents and even grandparents went to university. So, this whole thing, there's just been so much bullshit out there. Her father was Rudolph. Of course, more people have gone to university, but the ruling elite, they've been doing it for generations. Her father was Rudolf Seigart, one of the most powerful men in the Austro-Hungarian Empire. As I said before, described by his contemporaries as Austria's evil genius. He was the Emperor Franz Joseph's closest advisor, liaison between the emperor and 7 successive prime ministers. There was gilded life living in Empress Marie-Therese' former hunting lodge and mingling with the intellectual, the artistic, the powerful, and the privileged. Yeah. And the workers started getting pissed off. They felt almost totally integrated into the upper echelons of the Austrian establishment. Yeah, that was the problem. It's just, there's so many, pieces to a pie. And if others start picking from your pie, then you get pissed off. My great-grandfather, Rudolf, née Singer, had changed his name when he changed his religion in 1895, 2 years before Gustav Mahler converted from Judaism to Catholicism to become director of the Vienna Court Opera. Rudolf also realized that he could rise no further in his civil service career unless and until he was baptized. See, he did it for as a religion. He chose the name Seigart because it began with the same 2 letters as Singer, and to Austrians it sounded utterly Aryan. 50 years later, to his British descendants, people would say, German name, must be Jewish. I kind of have the same reaction. I picture a Jewish God up there somewhere saying, you can run, but you can't hide. Yeah. Okay. So my father grew up in what he saw as a Catholic family. He was an altar boy at Mass and went to Catholic schools. His father, a German lawyer called Ernst Alexander, was also a baptized former Jew, but the marriage fell apart when my father was 2 and Ernst returned to Berlin. There's another thing, before he couldn't get a divorce. Are you kidding? You go back into all of these families. Divorce has been going on for a long time. It wasn't until 1938 that Paul even discovered that he had Jewish origins. He was walking home from school with his nanny, a staunch Catholic woman from the mountains, when they came across an elderly Jewish shopkeeper being dragged over the shattered glass of his shop window by 2 Nazi thugs. Why are they doing that? Paul asked her. Aber natürlich. He's Jewish, she replied unquestioningly. Back at home, my father asked his mother what was going on. Well, there's something I need to tell you, she said, and for the first time explained his family history. According to Nazi law, under which people needed 4 Christian grandparents to qualify as Aryan, both he and she were soon deemed to be Jewish, too. Initially, she was not worried. She believed she was well enough assimilated and connected to escape any institutional anti-Semitism. Well, yeah, she got connections, she's got money, so she's good to go. Yeah, well, see, this is what people do not understand in the Machiavellian games that have been going on for a long time. Material wealth is easily taken. Easily as it's collected, it's taken. And privilege, oh yes, you're privileged as long as all your friends don't cancel you. But we're in a big time cancel culture here. Let's see, blinded by privilege, she didn't believe the government would come for her, for people like her. Until 12 March 1938, that is, when Nazi Germany took over Austria, my father remembered the Viennese lining the streets to cheer the German troops. The Austrians always made the best Nazis, he used to tell us. On that day, my grandmother realized that she and my father would have to flee, but while they were packing, the telephone rang. It was a friend of hers who was high up in the Ministry of the Interior. I'm just calling to say that if you're thinking of going on holiday, I wouldn't recommend it, he warned. The weather isn't very good abroad. She took the hint and stayed. It turned out that the border guards had a list of families who should be instantly arrested and sent off to the concentration camp if they tried to leave the country. The Seigarts were on it. Now, I mean, I'm not sure why, if they're passing the Nuremberg laws, why they can't leave the country if that's what they wanted. And they were deporting people, so I'm not, I don't know about, I'm not doubting it. It just, I'm not sure what was going on there. A year later, she and my father finally made it to Switzerland. History doesn't relate exactly what combination of bribery and string pulling allowed it to happen. They were amongst the lucky ones because other people and other members, I mean, total family parts of the family tree were exterminated. We do know, though, that Rudolph's sumptuous house on the Prince Eugen Strasse was handed over to become the headquarters of the SA, the Nazi stormtroopers. Sadly, it was bombed in the war, and it is now a boring block of flats. The Swiss told my family that they could stay for only 6 months. By then, in 1939, most other countries, including Britain, closed their borders to refugees from the Nazis. Yeah, see, this is also what happened. Nobody wanted them. So it was kind of like, well, what do we do? Well, we get rid of them, put them in there and gas them. You know, so again, my grandmother had to fall back on Rudolph's connections to help. She was given introductions to senior political figures in both Britain and France and wrote to them, begging for sponsorship for a visa. Both she and my father hoped to go to France as they spoke fluent French, but not English. But they were determined to go to whichever accepted them first. Lucky it was the UK, or they would have been rounded up by the French in 1942 instead. Imagine arriving at an English school with a German surname, a German accent, and only rudimentary English, just as war breaks out with Germany. British schoolboys weren't interested in the nuances that made Germans as much of an enemy to my father, indeed more, as they were to the British. In a matter of months, my father went from privileged to persecuted. I know the feeling, little girl. The same thing happened to me, and it's like, well, good riddance. You were just a trad wife and, you know, didn't have a career like me, so, you know, you're a persona non grata. I mean, this whole thing, it is just absolutely disgusting. The career women, the having it all women, the disdain and misogyny that they have for stay-at-home moms, trad wives, whatever you want to call them. So in a matter of months, my father went from privileged to persecuted, first by the Nazis, and then by the English boys who bullied him at school. It turned him into a human rights campaigner in later life, but also something of a tyrant, determined never to be a victim again. Okay, yeah, well, on paper, he was into human rights, but then I guess he was a bully and a tyrant with his family, and that's why she became a hypocrite. As children, and profiteuse, as they say in French, knows how to work the system. As children, we never felt fully accepted by the British either. I mean, come on. In the 1970s, see, she's about, I think she's maybe 2 years older, the same age as I am. I mean, at Cobham, are you kidding? I was an American. I mean, she's like, she was born in Britain. Her parents, her father was there. They were there, what, since the 40s. I mean, come on, that never fully accepted by the British either. Um, well, I guess this is kind of like the Spanish and the Portuguese in France before the Moroccans arrived. This is with my ex-husband. Spanish in France. In the 1970s, my siblings and I, they were escaping Franco. In the 1970s, my siblings and I were looked upon with suspicion by our schoolmates. Our surname wasn't remotely English. We were seen either enemy aliens or Jews, and Britain was still casually anti-Semitic. Even protesting that we were Catholic didn't help. They too were thought to be so foreign and suspect. Wait a second. We're Christians. We're Catholic. Oh, go away, those Catholics. Yeah, my mom's Catholic. My father's family goes back to Thomas Wilcox's admonitions to Parliament, the Puritan Manifesto, 1571. As my father said, oh, we've been challenging the British crown since the 1500s. And yeah, so yeah, this see, yeah, I mean, growing up, I really didn't know any Jews. Really, my introduction into Jewish world was at GW in college. And like at the first week, I said to somebody, I said, why do you guys keep on talking about Japs? I don't see any Japanese around here. And he was like, Jewish American princess. And I was like, oh, okay, a Jewish version of the Preppies. I got it. Yeah, so but oh Lord, that I find out from the Catholic and the whole Catholic and the Protestant stuff from firsthand from my mother. And I mean, that was a lot of her abuse and her jealousy and hatred of my father was payback for everything, the persecution of the Catholics. Although our father never spoke German at home and had not a trace of an accent in English, our upbringing felt different from our English peers. We talked about emotions, politics, and even sex around the dinner table, taboo to most Brits. Our parents were far more open and intellectual and interested in culture than most of our friends. Our mother, although British born, had a second generation German immigrant father, traveled widely, and was an instinctive cosmopolitan. Now, the thing is, the Windsors changed their name too. They were German. Marianne Seigart, in case you're not familiar with that history. So yeah, it really is very hypocritical. Are playing the German card and the Jewish card because as we'll see here. Hold on. Ooh, the Britain of those days was monocultural and almost entirely white. We had only one black girl in our year at school. Let's see. Yeah, I don't remember at Cobham. There were any black girls? I mean, they would have been from Africa. So the hierarchy was established within the white girls rather than between the white ones and the rest. I mean, yeah, because this is England. I mean, Vanita, she was from India. Um, and then there was Shiva from Persia. So, but like the Africans that I knew, they were white. But yeah, this is England. Why I often wondered had our Alex Crawford, she was from I forget where, but Africa. Why I often wondered had our grandmother been given her surname Sygart to our father rather than our grandfather's, which was Alexander. Had I been Marianne Alexander, I could have passed as English. Think of Stephen Fry, one of our national treasurers, who is an Austrian, as I am. But had his father, rather than his mother, been called Newman, would Fry still have been seen as a quintessential Brit, perfectly cast for Jeeves? Now, of course, Sygart seems barely more exotic or foreign than Simpson. So many waves of immigrants have arrived since my childhood that clicking white British on the ethnic monitoring forms put me right at the top of the oppression hierarchy. White privilege, yeah. I've been getting that too. At the same time, the foreign birthright had me ostracized as a child has now become a privilege. I'm the one post-Brexit who can apply for an extra EU passport for me and my children. While all those snobby English girls at my old school must put up with only a British one. Their children won't be able to work or study in the EU. Study, I'm not sure about. If they own a holiday home in France, Italy, or Spain, they will only be able to visit it for 90 days a year. They will have to queue up at European airports to have their passports scrutinized and stamped. They have become foreigners on their own continent. At last, my family story of fear, exile, and misery has come good. In fact, it has given me a choice of two extra nationalities, Austrian and German. With an Austrian grandmother and German grandfather, I could take my pick. This wasn't the case, though, when I first applied for German citizenship 4 years ago. Okay, so that was basically my point. I mean, I was fit to be tied when I read this article. My children have three nationalities, American, French, and Spanish, and they have been denied their citizenship. Nationality, ooh, I think maybe I didn't show this. I guess everybody was seeing this while I was reading that. Sorry, but they've been denied as I've been denied my rights as an American citizen and a French citizen for the past 18 years. I had no rights in Spain. I have no rights here. I even went to the French consulate and the French embassy. Well, I gave a letter to the French ambassador's wife and delivered it. Well, put it in the mailbox. It's not too far in Calorama, way near me. Saying, wait a second, I have no rights as an American citizen in my own country. They keep on firing me from jobs because I represent white privilege. I keep on getting bullied and even legally attacked with malicious litigation by a landlord in my own country. I have no rights. My family has said, "Oh well, no, it's normal. You know, it's normal because let's see, that it's in reprisal for past injustices of the past. I'm like, I never did anything to anybody. What are you talking about? And I'm not going to be with a sacrificial lamb. What, you guys? I've been offered up to atone for the sins of you guys. Oh, that's real Catholic. Yeah, the Catholics have taken over. That was the Kennedys. It's the Kennedys' fault. I start with running them out of town. Carrie Kennedy, she's sitting pretty with her mom's nonprofit or fraudulent human rights nonprofit that now is an LGBT nonprofit promoting their rights while I'm living in shit and can barely keep a roof over my head. I mean, the whole thing is absolutely crazy. So, and what's even crazier is my global expats project, which is what precipitated my divorce, if you will, and the whole mess there, um, and got me involved in court reform, was it is a copy of the Federation of American Women's Clubs Overseas, which was started in 1931 in London by an American who was married, it was Caroline Curtis Brown, who was married to, I think his name was Albert Curtis Brown, publishing house. I've contacted them about my book and they don't write me back. I'm like, excuse me, Faco, it's a scam. I'm like, they believed Caroline Curtis Brown thought that enlightened women around the world could do much to promote peace. And I'm like, yeah, the key word there is enlightened women instead of a bunch of backstabbing bitches. I mean, they, it boggles the mind. Nobody, I mean, I love my brother. He says, oh yeah, I'm too busy. I'm like, for the past 18 years, you have no family, you work a 9 to 5 job, but you've never read anything, I've been canceled. You guys left me to die. I made it out alive from Spain, and you're just hoping that somebody will get rid of me here in Washington. I'll be marginalized into non-existence. I mean, this is a dirty, dirty, dirty world. And, people like Marianne Seigart who are playing the victim card, it really is disgusting. Because here, there's Tucker, look at Tucker Carlson on.
You're a citizen of two countries? Can you really serve two masters?
Say, I mean, I keep on explaining to, or trying to explain to everybody, my Lord, you guys are just creating a situation where, I mean, you talk about a humanitarian crisis. So, for example, Bobby Kennedy's son, he went to fight in Ukraine. You're going to take away his citizenship. Okay. And then all of these military guys who, I mean, they're mercenaries who've been contracted out, like all of them who fought in Colombia, and all of them who have been contracted out, they're going to lose their nationality. And then they become, I mean, unless they have another nationality, they're stateless, rightless people. See, this is what happened with the Nuremberg laws. You did have stateless, rightless people because, okay, if they had another nationality, I mean, that was in Marianne Seigart's case with her family. It was German, Austrian. No, you're screwed both ways. And so they were accepted by the Brits. And now, oh, I mean, when I read this, oh, yeah, now everybody in my family, we're sitting pretty, all of these English, they're stuck in England, but I can go in and apply for European passports and we can travel all over Europe, even though I'm covering up for a repeat in history of what my family was complicit to creating 100 years ago. I mean, really, Candace Owens, this is Freudian gaslight. She was just talking about this. I was looking at her book club and on the Freud stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you guys, you got to stop just talking about this on your platforms. I mean, this is what pisses me off is I have not gotten one penny from anything that I have, you know, my activism websites, any of my videos, they're not monetized. I wouldn't take any money, even, you know, consulting or anything like that. What I want is to get global expats up. I've been trying to find an investor for that. I mean, look at Turning Point. I mean, okay, 500 million. I looked at it, 500 million since they started. That is not exorbitant. That's totally respectable for everything that Charlie Kirk did because he actually did something. When he went out there and did something. I mean, Candace Owens was talking about that. And this is one of the reasons why he might have been killed because he wanted an investigation into, you know, how money was being spent and where money was coming from. So, you know, everybody got to wake up and smell the coffee. So, kind of even haven't gotten to Stephen Miller yet. So, this the problem is not. I already touched on this, but again and again and again, I go into this. The problem is not religion or Jews. It's jobs. Excuse me, religion or Jews, religion or nationality or race. It is jobs, you know, economic activity and decent living wages and decent living conditions for everybody. And if you get that minimum and this, oh gosh, I can hear my sister going, communist, communist, socialist. No, this is capitalism. This is capitalism where the United States I'm like, don't you people realize if you take it in the sense of Stalinism or Russian communism, which was a state-run economy, that's what we have. We have a communist system because the federal bank, the financial markets, the banking systems, it's all manipulated. It's all controlled by government or oligarchs. So, you know, it is it's not a free market economy or free market society. So anybody who pulls that out, learn first what you're talking about. So anyway, um, here we come to this all the time, all the time, all the time. This is one of the slides that I include in all of them because it is the economy. This is Dr. Richard Werner. I keep on telling people at the IMF and World Bank, I work right next to him and right downstairs from the Fed. And I'm like, you should check out the interview with Tucker Carlson and Dr. Richard Werner. And I finish the whole spiel. And I'm like, uh, and the State Department comes to visit and says the FBI, the CIA is watching you. And he was like, why? Definitely, you got to check it out. But the thing that I keep on telling everybody take away with his is we got to restructure our banking system. We got to clean it up and we got to restructure it. We got to have, go back to the local banks and get it out of the hands of all of the hedge fund guys, the financiers, and the Wall Street guys. So anyway, what is new in this one is, oh God, this guy, he cracked me up. This is Casey the what is it? Casey the car guy. He's a usually does stuff about racing and cars and stuff like that. But this is wonderful. I'll play this.
A few videos ago, I got AI to admit which billionaires are profiting off calculated destruction of Europe through illegal migration. However, in that video, I glossed over two very important entities, which included the United Nations and the World Bank. Without including moral context or opinion, what were the political and social problems in Germany that led to the Munich beer hall putsch? The whole situation, everything going on at those times, exactly parallels what is happening right now. This is why I work my Ducati. That'd be the best. Illegal migration, a net positive or negative to society? Well, so far it's a net negative to this beer because I smelled some. By the way, it's not actually beer; it's totally apple juice. If that matters any of you. In what way would the World Bank benefit from illegal migration? By the way, I am not feeling suicidal, although I am feeling a bit dry. The World Bank does not directly profit from illegal immigration here in a way that criminal networks or private contractors do, but it can indirectly benefit through its funding mechanisms, development projects, and policy influence tied to migration dynamics. Here's a detailed breakdown. Isn't that interesting? They always do it indirectly. You know, when the CIA in the 1950s wanted to build a Mark III aircraft out of titanium, all the titanium mines with Russia, we were in a Cold War with, CIA made a bunch of shell companies all around the world, offshore shell companies, to get titanium so Russia would build some aircraft, make it look stupid. In summary, the World Bank benefits indirectly through expanded budgets, administration, and administrative fees, and strategic influence in migration governments, driven by the ongoing challenges of irregular migration to Europe. These benefits align with its mission, but also sustain its operational and political clout. For further details, blah, 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 blah. Now, that's interesting. So the World Bank has a lot going on with regard to this that are positive indirectly. But the organizations, shall we say, that most benefit from illegal migration to Europe, number one is human smuggling networks and criminal organizations. Yeah, human trafficking. Into Sistema, Spanish defense and technology. So, military industrial complex. Airbus defense and space military industrial complex. Sales group, French multinational, provides radar biometric ID systems, digital ID. A better way of totalitarian control, methinks. Serco Group. Oh, it's a UK-based services firm. Manages migrant detention centers and asylum processing in the UK and EU hotspots like Greece. Receiving 4 billion plus in government contracts since 2010. Government contracts is great. Agricultural businesses, nobody cares about that. Just say you don't. Construction companies, they don't care that much about it. Airlines spending quotations might care a little bit. So, and money transfer services. Boy, this is great, isn't it? You guys see what's going on here? In what ways does the United Nations benefit? Oh, now let me say that. The United Nations, through its agencies and programs, benefits indirectly from illegal immigration to Europe by securing increased funding, expanding its operational scope, and reinforcing its global influence on migration policy. Damn, that seems almost identical to how the World Bank benefits from illegal migration in Europe. But that's probably just a coincidence.
Yeah. Okay, you get the point there. So we're gonna go. Let's see. His name is Putsch, and I think it's about here. Let me get into this.
With regard to Brock, because it just kind of told me the truth. There's very little BS trying to keep me on the rails and propagandize me. I don't know if you all know, because my YouTube channel is in fact Casey the Car Guy, but my last name is Putsch. Putsch. There's only a couple hundred people in the world with that last name. Most are in southern Germany and Switzerland. And maybe I should not say what it means, but go ahead and look it up in the dictionary right now in either English or German, and it means the same thing. So,
Violent attempt of an overthrow of a government.
we're going to learn something and know this is not a pompous self-realization thing. This is how I'm going to make a shift. This is a moment. This is a plot vehicle to get us over to somewhere else. So I asked old Brock, what was the Zurich Putsch? The Zurich Putsch, and that's with umlaut, U with the dots over it. For you Americans, so Z umlaut R-I Putsch. A brief overview. The Zurich Putsch was a violent uprising in Switzerland on September 6, 1839, where rural conservative forces from the Zurich Oberland stormed the city of Zurich to overthrow the liberal radical government of the canton of Zurich. This event, one of the bloodiest internal conflicts in the 19th century's history, occurred on the eve of Switzerland's formation as a federal state and highlighted deep urban, rural, and ideological divides. Now, what are some bullet points that led to this putsch in Zurich? Well, the rise of liberalism. Damn! The 1831. That sounds like the Joe Biden administration last 4 years. Inspired by the July Revolution in France, liberals and radicals seized power in Zurich, introducing a new constitution and emphasized popular sovereignty, education reform, and economic modernization. Measures included abolishing customs barriers, building roads, and secularizing education by removing church influence from schools. These changes favored urban elites, entrepreneurs, lawyers, and teachers, but alienated rural conservatives, particularly small farmers and the traditional clergy who felt their religious and economic interests were threatened. Please tell me every single last one of you is at least starting to see a few similarities. Well, let's keep going. Triggering event. Tensions boiled over when the liberal government appointed the controversial German theologian David Friedrich Strauss, known for his rebellion views of the life of Jesus, 1835, which questioned the historical accuracy of the Gospels, to the chair of dogmatics at the University of Zurich's theological facility. This move, seen as an attack on Orthodox Christianity, outraged the rural population and church authorities. My God, it's the same thing. Okay, let's keep going. Events in the Putsch. Ooh, the March on Zurich. We could probably go buy these. Around 5,000 rural insurgents armed with improvised weapons like pitchforks, halberds, morning stars, cudgels, advanced from Zurich Highlands toward the city center. Oh, wait, this disappointed. Those other ones do. Clashes in the city. Ooh, the Putschists. Yes. So Fuentes people are called Goitlers. You guys want to be called Putschists? Let's keep going. Reach the city walls from the west and engage in fierce street fighting with 10 total troops near key sites like. Let's keep going. Casualties. There were some casualties. Immediate outcome. The insurgents succeeded in forcing the resignation of the liberal government. Yeah, take that, libs! A provisional conservative administration took over, and the appointment of Strauss was revoked. However, the radicals regrouped, and liberals regained power in Zurich by 1845. Okay, well, let's move on. Legacy. Today, it's remembered as a pivotal moment in Swiss history, symbolizing resistance to rapid modernization. Wow. Symbolizing resistance to rapid modernization. Sites like Plots in Zurich still evoke the event and its study for its role in shaping federalism. Symbolizing resistance to rapid modernization. Rapid modernization.
Okay, so again, he agrees with me. This is history is repeating itself. So that's really, as I say, all of these other videos, they're worth watching. That's why I keep this slide in here, because it really does. I mean, these are kind of different things that I found which explain the economic situation, and how it just keeps on repeating itself. Let's learn from our mistakes. So this, we saw this a couple of videos ago with the Bush, and this goes to 9/11 and George Bush, his involvement in that. You got Lauren Bush Lauren. This is Bush granddaughter who married Ralph Lauren's son, David. I mean, my sister is always like, Ralph Lauren.
Lauren Bush Lauren, designer, philanthropist, and mom.
She got her start as celebrity chef to the stars in Telluride, Colorado, working for Ralph Lauren. But see, this is the thing. I even like, excuse me, Lauren Bush, you want to feed the homeless, and Megyn Kelly wants to exterminate them. Yeah. Yeah, individuals changing the world. Yeah, well, 9/11 definitely did change the world. Well, actually, that's his son who was involved in that one, but he was with the Iraq War, and he was CIA, and I mean, how much was he a puppet of the military industrial complex? I really don't know. Or how much was he I mean, definitely his son. I guess they call him Bush 43, was definitely a puppet. I don't know, Bush 41, how much he was. But see, here we got Tucker Carlson looking at the 9/11 files. CIA secret mission gone wrong. Let's start connecting the dots and stop with the this. I mean, I know I keep on going back to the Catholics. I'm sorry, Candace Owens. I know you're Catholic and everything, but you gotta understand, the Catholics. You can talk about your cults. Uh, Let me just, well, unfortunately, my mother's passed, but I can, that was just my experience with the Catholics has been stab them in the back and and then atone for your sins by doing some charity work. I mean, Bobby Kennedy even said that in People magazine, an interview about his mother. What was it? She saw the world as friend or foe, and her treatment of staff and family was at odds with her human rights activism work. I'm like, oh yeah, I can relate. So what I've been looking at in a lot of really kind of what's going on with the Charlie Kirk assassination, is the reaction of everybody. I haven't gotten into the Goebbels yet. Um, and the social media influencers. So Megyn Kelly is one that I've been watching, Candace Owens as well. And I mean, see, Megyn Kelly, she's really positioning herself and working this for all it's worth. I mean, this one, the memorial, where was that? Charlie Kirk's memorial, Power of Forgiveness, and Van Jones smear. I mean, she's always name dropping people. I mean, I love it when she always tells everybody how she's a lawyer so she knows what she's talking about. I'm like, why don't you read my 35-page report that I sent to the World Justice Project, which is supposed to be looking at all the lawyers. So, as I keep on saying, here we are, we're in the Fourth Reich. And so, yeah, there's a parallel of the people in the administration. And so here we get to Stephen Miller. Is he the Joseph Goebbels? Well, yeah, pretty much so. Now, that begs the question, is Katie, because one of the issues with Stephen Miller and the America First Legal, he's the head of that, I think the other guy is Gene Hamilton. Now, when they started that in 2021, I contacted them. And I mean, I called and I sent a snail mail letter. Everybody's got to stop. Well, we didn't get the letter. We didn't get the memo. We didn't get the memo. I mean, I've been doing this for 18 years. We'll start hiring some secretaries then, because you can't use that. I was like, oh my God, when the domestic violence extremist report came out and all the different categories, I said, oh Lord, here, I got a whole slew of people in Washington that you can take out with that one. I mean, Gloria Allred and Lisa Bloom and David Boies are going full force with the Me Too stuff. I mean, those people are just trashing the rule of law and due process, and nobody says boo, and they're making a fortune. Do not tell me that it can't be done, that we cannot. I mean, I've prepared all of the cases. I've argued all of the cases. I've looked at the laws. I mean, I have handed I've handed this to them on a silver platter. So you can't say that, there's no other, we got to do this with force. We got to bring in the National Guard. We got to scare the people. We can't argue this in the court. We can't argue these issues in the court because why? Oh, because we don't want to. You give me a reason. Military industrial complex owns you. And you want more wars and more wars and all of this fluff. I mean, God, I'm listening to Pam Bondi and Katie Miller. I mean, these are feminists. You're supposed to be bringing back the family and family values, yet at the same time, they're promoting the whole, women in the workforce, having it all. We can do it all. I mean, this is all the whole Pam Bondi thing, interview with Katie Miller, was filled with that. I mean, Usha Vance with Meghan McCain. I mean, Meghan McCain, she's Arizona, I asked my mother in 2007 when my case started in Spain, Mom, would you please tell John McCain to pick up the phone, tell the consulate in Madrid, the American consulate in Madrid, that my lawyers are raking me over the coals. Everybody's violating my rights, right and left. My husband wants to kill me. Everybody wants to shut me up and destroy me. And just tell the consulate to tell him to stop doing it, that they're watching. Oh, John McCain wouldn't want to get involved in any unpleasantness during an election year. Got the same bullshit from Bobby Kennedy's campaign. I mean, when is everybody going to stop with, we don't want to be involved in any unpleasantness? As I told the volunteer for Bobby Kennedy's campaign, I said, that's all there is. You guys don't want to be involved in any unpleasantness, then please go home. Stop with this, we're mentoring young women, and she's really, what was it that they were saying? I mean, a rising star who can be another elected official. Everybody either wants to get on a podium, give a speech, and be elected to something, but then they don't, then they're owned by the people who put them in power. Nobody wants to actually do any work. It's just, let's get elected and become part of some club and popularity contest and bully our way through, in swinging either it's the Republicans or the Democrats. The Republicans or the Democrats. It's gotta stop. So anyway, this see, Candace Owens, she's the only one who's really bringing this up. That like, it's like, let's just move on. Let's move on. She said, it's really strange, and I agree with this. Why is Turning Point USA not calling for and pressing for an investigation into really who killed Charlie Kirk? What exactly happened? Because it's still, I mean, we're getting some information from different podcasters, because we're really not getting much from the authorities, but it's still very unclear, what happened. Because, like, one of the things, so it does look from what's coming through from the different ballistic guys. I think that goes into it here. Yeah, I get into this here. One of the ballistic guys, that it was from the front. I don't understand that, because they were saying, well, no, he fell to the side, so it had to have been from the side. But now they're saying it was these guys. The new report changes everything in the Charlie Kirk murder. There was an autopsy, and here is what they found with the bullet, but they're still not sure what bullet it was. So there's still some questions. However, they are saying that, yeah, it was from the front. So that would correspond with this Robinson kid that was apparently, we still don't actually see him shooting, and we see somebody running off the roof. We don't actually see somebody actually shooting. And then also, there's no way he had the gun, the rifle with him, stuffed down his pants. That's pretty much, everybody kind of debunked that. So that would kind of indicate that the rifle would have been up on the roof. And they're also saying the rifle wouldn't have been, taken apart, put back together again. So they are coming out with some stuff. But so the rifle was on the roof, was it put there? And then he went up, and so did he act alone? Because Here's something that I haven't heard anybody really talking about this.
Kirk, and I'm going to take it. So there was a note that the
Oops, oops, oops. Hold on. That was not. Oh, wait a second. I'm not sure if this is the one that I wanted to show. Oh no, here, this is the one that I wanted to show. Because this is interesting, because he goes into how so he goes into, let's see. So this is interesting because he's looking at, the reaction. This here, where is this? Of the shooter. Let's see. Where is this? Oh, sorry. So that's not the one that I wanted to do. Yeah.
just last week on September 10th, Charlie Kirk, an American conservative political activist,
Okay. Oh yeah. Yeah. Sorry about that. Because it was the other one that this one goes into an analysis of how all of the different media and how different groups are reacting to the Charlie Kirk's murder. And it's very interesting. But this is the one that
this kind of relates back to what I was questioning earlier. I guess he's thinking if they find the rifle and they trace it back to him, maybe they're going to go talk to the roommate. But all that would take so much time.
Because what it is there's is this the wrong one? There's
Robinson committed criminal homicide in the physical presence of a child younger than 14 years of age, with knowledge that a child was present and that may have been seen or heard the commission of the criminal homicide. Victim targeting enhancement in violation of Utah Code annotated 76-3-203.14 sub 2. Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. That concludes reading the information. Mr. Robinson, this case is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. It will be a waiver hearing.
So there isn't much to talk about here. And that's the whole point, that there isn't much to talk about. Throughout the reading of the charges, he was very, very stoic. And I first saw this in short form on social media, I think Instagram. And I was looking at it and I was wondering, that the clip that I saw, was this a picture of him while the judge is talking? Because there was stretches where we barely see anything out of him. So the event was mentioned, the children were mentioned, and throughout this entire thing, we're getting nothing. And all this is very interesting to me because there are a lot of theories out there. You know, some people believe he did this. Others believe he must have had some other people helping him with this. Some people believe he had nothing to do with this. But despite all that, whatever the case, I would expect to see some kind of emotional reaction to what's being said here. Like, for example, I know that almost anyone I've talked to about this event, regardless of where they fall on the political landscape, when they think about the children, Charlie Kirk's children, being there and witnessing that, almost everyone gets a sad reaction to that. And anytime I think about it, I think about my own family and my own kid and this kind of thing happening, and I get really sad about that as well. So even whether he did this, whether he didn't do this, whether, there was other people, why is there nothing happening when the kids are coming up? It's possible, it's very possible, whether somebody else advised him or he thought of this himself, that he's under the impression that he shouldn't react to anything because it could be an admission. So he told himself, just sit there, glaze over, give him nothing, because otherwise they can use it against you. Or those guys on YouTube will look at your body language, are going to be like, oh, look, there's guilt there, so he must have done this. So I don't know, maybe he's making a conscious effort to not give any reactions. And that's exactly where this gets really interesting and frustrating. And I discovered something that no one else has talked about, and I don't blame them, because what happened to me was very specific. So what happened is I first saw it on Instagram, and I said, wow, this guy's not giving him anything. And then when I was going to do this analysis, I went on YouTube and I searched for the whole footage, and I came across the version on ABC News. And as I was watching it, I saw something completely different. Watch this.
Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. That concludes reading the information. Mr. Robinson.
Please tell me you noticed the difference. In this version, when the judge said that Tyler intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of his belief or perception of Charlie Kirk's political expression, as he's saying because of Charlie Kirk's political expression, we see Tyler nod downwards, the same way he does when he acknowledges things. And in that moment, I'm looking at that going, wait a second, like this whole time he was stoic, and this one moment where in this slip up where he's going, yep, that's why I did it.
Kirk's political expression.
But there was a little voice in my head that was like, wait a second, I saw this on Instagram earlier and he never acknowledged anything. I was looking specifically for that, so there's no way I would have missed that. So I took both clips. I took the ABC News one that I was watching that has tons of views online, and then I compared it directly to another one that I found that was from a news source in Salt Lake City, and I synced up the audio to where the judge is saying the same thing. And I looked at Tyler, and it wasn't the same thing. In the local one, in the Salt Lake City one, all the charges are read, he doesn't react, and then when the judge says that concludes the charges or whatever, when he's done, when he's concluded, that's when we see the acknowledgement like this. So Tyler goes, good, okay, we're done, I get it, acknowledge. So I'm gonna play them side by side. I'm gonna show you this clip, and on the right, the little box, that's ABC News, and you'll even hear that the audio is synced. And on the left is the one from the news station from Salt Lake City. And look at when that nod hits. On ABC, it's an acknowledgement to the charge. On the Salt Lake City one, it's an acknowledgement to we've concluded.
Because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. That concludes reading the information. Mr. Robinson.
To clarify, in the beginning, they were both synced, and it seemed like the responses that he was giving were timed well with what was being said. And then at this moment, I realized that the clips were out of sync. So I'm watching one of them, and I'm watching him not react throughout and only react when it's done to acknowledge, okay, we're done. And that one, by the way, is on a network called KUTV2 News that's in Salt Lake City. But then on ABC News, one of the biggest news platforms of the country, I'm seeing this report that's been seen by tons of people out there. And when he's being told, when the judge is saying the motive for having done this, which is political expression, we're seeing an acknowledgement. And listen, you don't need to be a body language analyst to see that acknowledgement, right? The judge is saying that Tyler specifically chose Charlie Kirk because of his political beliefs. You're seeing the guy in that moment acknowledge it like this, the way he's acknowledged other things before. Seriously, what are we doing here? The year is 2025. Why does this footage look like it was filmed on a potato from the 17th century?
Yeah.
Everything is choppy, everything is loud.
Okay, that's what I had wanted to. As I say, the other one, oh, I put CNN. It's ABC. um, so, but that he's the only one, that's the only time I've heard of that. But I was like, wait a second. I mean, that doesn't, that's not necessarily the Fed. That's the news station. And also he brings up an interesting question, like, what is the judge seeing? That was weird. So this, let's see. Oh, here, this is the Charlie Kirk assassination. This is great again. This guy, this is how much money.
1. Was he really
most likely target of the left? And 2, what is his assassination worth and to who? Well, I used old Grok to calculate exactly those figures. And all I remember is 6.8 to $9 billion. But to who? Who are the top 15 conservative influencers not currently working for a TV network by follower count? Number 1, Tucker Carlson, 3 million plus followers. 2, Ben Shapiro, 25 million plus followers. Charlie Kirk, 15 plus million. Candace Owens, 12 million plus. Stephen Crowder, 10 million plus. Brandon Tatum, 7 million plus. Matt Walsh, 6 million. Tim Pool, 5.5. Jack Posobiec, I don't know, 5 million plus. Scott Pressler, also don't know, 4.5. Michael Knowles at 11. Brad Cooper, Ali Hess, Stucky, don't know. Isabel Brown, not really. David J. Harris Jr. Okay, so what's this, right? Top 5, Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, Charlie Kirk, Candace Owens, and Steve Adler. I said, please list these people in order of the most anti-transgender to the least. I.e., who will piss off the transgender community the most? Number 1, Matt Walsh. See, I wonder why. What is a woman, etc.? Candace Owens, number 2. Ben Shapiro, number 3. Michael Knowles, number 4. Brad Cooper, number 5. Isabel Brown, number 6. Okay, let's back this up. The top 5 here are all Daily Wire. All Daily Wire. I just pointed that out because I noticed that. And Isabel Brown, did she just sign a deal with Daily Wire? Am I getting this wrong? I might be. So if that's the case, then 6 people are directly affiliated with Daily Wire. If we keep going, number 7 is Allie Beth. Number 8, Tucker Carlson. Number 9, Stephen Crowder. And number 10, Charlie Kirk. So all of those people are more anti-transgender than Charlie Kirk. Just something I thought was interesting and kind of relevant. So I then said, please list these conservative figures from most hated to least hated by the political left. Keep in mind this graph, so it screws things up. Let's just go with it for the sake of conversation. Number 1, most hated by the left is Tucker Carlson, which actually makes me even more honored to have been on his show. And he is actually a very smart and nice person, which maybe is irrelevant, but that's just something I is Michael Knowles. Number 7, Steven Crowder. Number 8, David J. Harris. Number 9, Scott Pressler. Number 10, Brandon Tatum. Number 11, Brett Cooper. Then Isabel Brown. Then Ben Shapiro. Then Charlie Kirk. At 14. Hold on. Where the heck is Ben Shapiro? 13? Max and Chinese saying Ben Shapiro is more critical of Israel than Charlie Kirk. That's interesting, isn't it? Then I asked the question of all 15 of these influencers. I said, who on the list are Jewish? Well, it's all Ben Shapiro, but we knew that. Want to get spicier? How much was Turning Point USA worth? They have grown from 15 million in 2021 to 24 million in 2023. Fiscal year 2024, their annual revenue, $85 million? That's a fair chunk of change. Interesting. I don't read too much into it because that's chump change compared to some other things. Oh, wait, one more thing here. Who is going to take over Turning Point USA now? Speculation and rumors. Ben Shapiro is a potential successor. Huh. That's interesting. So if it's Ben Shapiro, they have an $85 million revenue annually, and it's got $18 million of assets. And Turning Point USA has a lot of followers. And I guess if we go up into here to the beginning of all of these people, so Ben Shapiro has 25 million plus followers. Interesting. Charlie Kirk has 15 million. Let's just say hypothetically, you added Charlie Kirk's to Ben Shapiro's, you got 40 million, which would be 10 million more than Tucker Carlson. And hypothetically, Ben Shapiro with the Daily Wire would be, by and large, the largest conservative platform. But that's hypothetical, and that's not how that works exactly. But it's kind of interesting to think about. And no, I am not pinpointing Ben Shapiro here in any way, shape, or form. And I mean that. If you are a leftist youth and pro-transgender, list who you would most hate or be most likely to attack. Number 1, Matt Walsh. Gee, I wonder why. Is it the what is a woman type thing? I'm not here to judge any of this right now, but I'm saying I will agree that Matt Walsh would be the number 1 target of conservative influencers from transgender type people. Number 2, Ben Shapiro. Number 1, Matt Walsh. Number 2, Ben Shapiro. Number 3, Michael Knowles. Number 4, Brett Cooper. Number 5, Steven Crowder. So the top 4 are Daily Wire. Number 6, so it's number 7, Charlie Kirk. Number 8, Tucker Carlson. And the list goes on. Let's keep asking more questions. What hypothetical political reasons would benefit from a leftist killing Charlie Kirk? Yeah, damn. I'm just going to ask the question. Because we're at 50,000-foot altitude doing Mach 2, and we can't hear nor do we have time for noise or feelings, because let's just find out who benefits the most. Disrupting conservative youth mobilization and electoral power. Number 2, silencing a vocal critic of transgender rights and LGBTQ plus issues. 4, 3, provoking internal division within the right-wing coalition. 4, shifting the narrative on political violence to blame the right. 5, intimidating other conservative influencers and reducing their audience. 6, highlighting and exacerbating societal polarization for revolutionary change. Ooh, now that's something you can use. What could revolutionary change be? What political party is the most supportive of Israel? In summary, while most major U.S. parties support Israel's right to exist and defend itself, the Republican Party demonstrates the strongest, most consistent boundary across public opinion, policy, and elite consensus as of September 2025. The divide reflects broader U.S. polarization on foreign policy. You ready for this one? In what way would the nation of Israel hypothetically benefit politically from Charlie Kirk's assassination by leftists? Up until this moment, it's all just been speculation by people others want to write off and cancel. So let's just say what old Rock has to say. The guy asking the question can't be blamed for anything. I love to ask questions. And this is new and improved, non-Hitlerian Rock. Hypothetical political benefits to Israel from Charlie Kirk's assassination by leftists. unifying U.S. right-wing sympathy and bipartisan backlash against the left. Cook's pro-Israel advocacy, lobbying against Iran wars and promoting biblical support for Zionism, and a bridge to evangelical youth, a key demographic for U.S. aid to Israel. 3.8 million annually. An assassination by a leftist framed as anti-conservative extremism could murder him, rallying Republicans who doubled down on pro-Israel policies as a tribute. That's really interesting. And wasn't it Netanyahu that within minutes after the assassination and before even the U.S. politicians even realized it's saying, started tweeting all kinds of condolences and positive things, and a mayor in Israel is naming a town square after Charlie Kirk? They're being awfully nice about that. Netanyahu's swift tributes and claims of Islamist involvement, despite evidence pointing leftward, already position Israel as a shared victim of radical left violence. Position Israel as a shared victim. Never heard them do that before. Potentially pressuring Democrats to mute Gaza criticism to avoid appearing soft on domestic terrorism. This echoes how the 1963 JFK assassination unified Cold War hawks against communists, hypothetically boosting Israel's $14.5 billion aid request in 2025. Holy shit. This echoes how the 1963 JFK assassination unified Cold War hawks against communists.
Okay. I'll leave it there. You get the point. I love he really is very, very funny, particularly with this one. But oops, let's go on. So this woman, I've included in here. What is her name? Christian Hoffman. I mean, it's just, she offers absolutely no proof or any facts or evidence. I mean, she just goes off on Candace and just blah, 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 blah. I mean, like, you really have a defamation thing there. So here again, we're with Jimmy Kimmel. There's still the freedom of speech debate that this all has ignited, which just turns around and around and around and around. I'm like, you guys, I've been asking you all, can we get this into the courts? Can we get this into the courts? Because otherwise, it's just you keep on blah 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 blah. Now this is another thing. This was a really good. This is James Lee about what Israel's doing. Check this out.
I think it's now become abundantly clear who controls the world. Because Bob Dylan, a member of an English punk rap duo, just lost everything in less than 24 hours. His talent agency, gone. Visa, revoked. The U.S. tour, canceled. Why? Because during a performance at Glastonbury, he had the goal to say these words. First off, just want to point out that the crowd was so that says something. But whether you agree with the chants or not, whether you think it's fair game or hate speech, that's not really the point of this video. The point is, Bob Dylan has been spewing this kind of anti-establishment, anti-British venom for years, and not a single person in power batted an eye. Because these are all direct quotes uttered by Dylan in the past. Quote, kill the Queen. Burn Britannia, dig up Maggie, referring to late Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. I wipe my arse with the UK flag and spit on the ground. Give Churchill's statue a rope, sneeze the foot. I mean, this guy has said some of the most violent, hateful things about powerful and revered figures of Britain. And the reaction from the UK elites, that's right, Not a show cancel, not a revoked visa, not a dropped contract. But the moment he criticizes Israel, even just once, his entire professional life is torched in a matter of 24 hours. Because almost immediately after his performance at Glastonbury, pro-Israel advocacy group Stop Anti-Semitism tweets out, quote, Bob Dylan, legal name Pascal Robbins, concert called for the death of the Black again, which he made at Glastonbury. He's coming to the U.S. this fall as part of the immersion tour. This anti-Semite must have his visa denied, rescinded, his fate is not long here. Rubio at Rubio Corral. Then Congressman Randy Fine replies, on it, and just like that, visa revoked. Look, you don't have to like Bob. You don't have to like his music. You don't have to like what his political stances are. This isn't really a defense of him. But let's get straight. Look, if you want to know who rules over you, find out who you're not allowed to criticize. Because this wasn't just some random overreaction. This is what happened. You criticize the most gambling military force on the planet, backed by one of the most powerful lobbying machines in the entire world. Let's start with the U.S. In 2024, APAC spent over $100 million paying anyone in Congress who dare criticize it. This includes going after Jewish members of Congress who they deem as lacking sufficient support for Israel. You ever wonder why criticizing Israel feels more dangerous than criticizing the U.S. government itself? Yeah, there's a reason for that. But it's not just here in America. They have these same lobbying apparatus across the world, including the UK.
Why Britain is so supportive of Israel is something that you and I have done a lot of work on, which has been the extent of Israel Olympic in the UK. You know, when a large number of Conservative MPs, Labour MPs, been paid by Israel to go to visit Israel, briefing sessions with Israeli officials, Labour friends of Israel, Conservative friends of Israel. They play a very influential role in French politics, and there's no doubt that Israel exercises an influence over French foreign policy making, sort of way beyond probably any other state.
That's right. They have the power, and I'm not exaggerating. They have the power to take out almost anybody in any Western government that they want, no matter how powerful, all the way up to the leader, in this case, of the Labour Party of the UK. And this isn't some conspiracy theory. It's all very well documented. I mean, is it not bizarre that in the UK you can throw the Union Jack, curse the crown, and still get voted on national TV? And say in the US you can denigrate the flag, you can criticize Trump, Biden, whoever you want, but the moment you criticize Israel, here's the question I'm leaving with today. Is this really about hate speech? Is this about anti-Semitism? Or is it about protecting a rogue nation that's allowed to have just something? My name is James Lee. Let me know what your thoughts are about this. Also, be sure to like and subscribe.
Yeah. I agreed with him. I was like, yeah, some questions to ask there. Oh my goodness. This with this I included with the freedom of speech issues because Eric Weinstein, I mean, yeah, Pierce Morgan, thanks for calling him out. I mean, he really does expose him as a real hypocrite. A real hypocrite. Okay, so here's another. I mean, it's just, ladies, a little bit of solidarity. Now, Cher Denise really, I came across her, I don't know, several months ago, maybe half a year ago or something. She was maybe longer than that, but she was doing a lot of book reviews. I really liked the book reviews. It was Ethel Kennedy, and just some atrocious behavior of Ethel Kennedy. There was another on Martha Stewart. These tell-all books of women who are out of control. But I mean, it's like with Nancy Reagan's daughter's book, Patty Davis, expose about her mom, or Mommy Dearest, which was about, which Hollywood actress was that? That was Joan Crawford and her daughter Christina. Um, you know, oh gosh, as I say, that came out, in the 70s. We've heard that done there, that's been done. Um, like let's move on. This is atrocious behavior. This has become the Real Housewives. I mean, Valley of the Dolls, Stepford Wives, whatever you call them, Susan Carlson. Um, you know, these suburban housewives uh, who are either doped up on drugs or out to lunch in La La Land in country clubs, uh, you know, just parasites on society, um, and wreaking havoc and being prima donnas, just creating chaos. Well, that's not the role model that we need. So let's move on from that. But I mean, Sharon Denise, she's really getting into just
her latest push towards who did it is TPUSA, even though
Okay, so why do we have to add to, she goes on and it's kind of the same dialogue, but I'm like, wait a second, this is precisely drink the Kool-Aid. Here's the official narrative. Everybody's gonna, just buy into it. And bring in the National Guard, you know, detract the attention away from that, and we're gonna get tough on the thugs and the poor immigrants. We're not going to pay any attention about all of these nonprofits that are filled with PhDs who are siphoning off all of the money, who are the real problems. And instead, we're just going to drink the Kool-Aid of the authorities. Nobody's believing the authorities because we've been lied to time and time and time and time again. I mean, this is what my generation and even I mean, I was born in 63, so it's kind of, the ones who were the 60s, the hippies, that was kind of the generation of like, we're we're not going to believe you assholes anymore. I mean, I guess that's what the American Revolution was about as well, and the French Revolution. And see, this is the thing. All of the other revolutions, that was bad, but our revolution was good. It was same. Ours was just the first. And if you really want to go back into history, and that's another history that's been rewritten, it was not. It really was that the British weren't, they had it was the Appalachian line, and they weren't going to, expand into the West, and the colonies wanted to expand into the West because that's where, for the wealth and development, and just because that's what humans have been doing for thousands of years. We keep on migrating, and we keep on creating problems with it, and entrenching on other people's lands and taking other people's resources, whether you're Jewish or you're English, and you're doing it to the American Indians, or the Vikings doing it to the Brits who were there before them. It's been going on for a long time. So anyway, as I keep on saying, history keeps on repeating itself. But here, just, I mean, Candace, this is a friend of hers, and I totally agree with her. She's the one who's showing her true friendship, because she's not getting anybody patting her on the back for what she's doing, and she's really asking some hard questions. And I saw her today. She was like, well, wait a second. I've been questioning the authorities, the FBI, the police, but it's also, what about the reaction of Turning Point USA? Like, move on. Let's get on with it. This is why, Casey, the car guy, he asked Grok some important questions. I think, these are all questions that everybody should be asking with the current situation, and not just, okay, I'll drink any Kool-Aid that you guys want to pass out. Now, the thing is, Hitler wasn't alone in Europe with the fascism. We had Mussolini, and you had Franco. And Franco, in fact, if anybody is familiar with, it's a famous painting by Picasso, Guernica, and that was the Nazis were going to test out their bombs, and how their airplanes, how that was going to work with them dropping bombs on civilian populations, and if this was really effective. So they decided that their test was Guernica in Spain, and I mean, it was just annihilated the village. But so this is not something. Oh, sorry, I'm not yet at the Franco. That's the next one. So I guess, sorry, I'm jumping ahead of myself. So I'm still in Nazi Germany instead of Nazi Spain. So as I say, I've been looking at all of the women and the women's influence of that. So this was, we saw Katie Miller from earlier. I mean, is she the Magda? Well, yeah, kind of. Although what's interesting about Magda is let's see, where is she? Is she in here? Don't tell me I had that. She was, her stepfather was Jewish. He was a wealthy Jewish guy who was exterminated in a concentration camp. But then there's speculation that it was actually her biological father, because that was what was written. I don't know if it was when he was stopped. Maybe he did that as revenge, because then that meant that she was Jewish. But she let him die in a concentration camp. And I mean, he adopted her. I mean, the woman was a piece of work. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. Is Katie Miller, another Magna? I mean, Stephen Miller. He was supposedly behind the separation of children from their parents in the during Trump's first administration. And Katie Miller and Stephen Miller was like, well, it doesn't really, negatively affect children to be separated from their parents. Well, maybe you'll think differently about that if somebody took away your own kids. So, as I say, I guess we'll see are Stephen and Katie Miller, the Joseph and Mag the Goebbels in this story. Now, if they are, and all of the social media influencers who are promoting and passing out the Kool-Aid, they should take a look at the jurisprudences and what happened to the propagandists. You had Axis Sally. I think she was, let's see what happened to her.
In World War II, Britain had a sword in the United States. So what were they? Well, traitors, of course. Nonconformists, for various reasons, went to work for the enemy. One of the commonest forms of treason was broadcasting propaganda for the enemy, usually by radio. With British and the infamous Lord Hawthorne, real name William Joyce, an American-born Irishman, pre-British Union fascist propaganda chief who confronted it to Berlin in September 1939. To avoid arrest by the British police, anti-broadcast Nazi propaganda in Britain obscured upper Saxony. He was hanged after the war by the British, even though he was really an American, a point that was definitely sidestepped by the prosecution at the time. For the Pacific campaign, Tokyo rose. Japanese-American patriots found some Tokyo propaganda to U.S. airlines. Check out my recent video about her main screen. One of the most infamous American traitors worked for Dr. Goebbels, earning her the nickname Axis Sally among Allied troops. Born in Portland, Maine in 1900, Mildred Sis changed her surname to Goebbels after her mother remarried in 1911. She was a student at Ohio Wesleyan University in 1918, studying appropriately dramatic arts and then a graduate. Determined to be an actress, she washed up next in Greenwich Village, New York, taking acting lessons and playing hit parts in some theater productions and vaudeville acts. She also worked as an artist on but couldn't find anything substantial. In 1939, Goebbels crossed the Atlantic, lived in Paris for 6 months, but nothing panned out, and she instead drifted back to New York City. In 1933, Goebbels went to Algiers, North Africa, taking undramatic employment as a dressmaker's assistant for the large expatriate community in the French colony. Again, in 1934, Goebbels turned up in Nazi Germany, studying music, medicine, and then working as an English language teacher at a girls' school in Berlin. Once war broke out in September 1939, Goebbels, by solitude, was of course unaffected, but her native language suddenly became quite valuable to her hosts. Reich, long from Gesellschaft, German state radio, had special propaganda stations that beamed out pro-Nazi propaganda to the Allies. Native English speakers were very much prized. Goebbels was recruited in 1940 and continued to work for German radio even when U.S. citizens were warned by their embassy to leave Germany in late 1941, as it looked increasingly likely that the U.S.
So anyway, yeah. So you see, Lord Haha, he was hung. I believe she wasn't killed, Gillers. She was imprisoned and eventually let out. But yeah, all of the social media influencers should take a look at what happened after the war to all of the propagandists. Yeah, this other hyena of Auschwitz, the sympathizers. I mean, like in Washington, there's a lot of them. And so, what about all of the foreigners? This is another thing. It's not just like Israeli foreign agents, it's from India. I mean, my lord, the little viperous bitches at the IMF. Kalpana Kochar, was the head of HR. She was involved in the cover up. But Adrian Thapa from India, Sharmini Curry from Sri Lanka. I'm sorry, these little having it all feminists, um, and the UN and the IMF and the World Bank have been taken over by these woke factions. They are colluding in the destruction of American democracy and the American government. They're colluding with the Democrats. This is all highly, highly, highly illegal. We have the Enemy Alien Act, RICO, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. There's a very legal way to get, to bring people to justice. And this is not, persecution of anybody. This is going after people who have committed crimes. I mean, I keep on saying, well, just the other day, one of the girls that I work with, she was like, "Oh, well, yeah, I guess it is. It's difficult for you." I'm like, "No, this is discrimination and it's illegal." I've had it. I've had it with everybody in this town. He keeps on giving me attitude. I'm like, excuse me, you're colluding in not only destroying the economy of my country, democracy and its government, but also democracy in your own country because I'm working to do it everywhere in the world. So not only are you looking at treason here if you got a nationality here, but also in your home country. Oh, so here, the Oxenberg sisters, Christine and Catherine Oxenberg. Catherine, um, Catherine Oxenberg, she was in Dynasty. Here she is. Catherine Oxenberg opens about her royal heritage and career and family nightmare. Anyway, these two girls, they were princesses. Their mother was, I guess, a princess, never a queen or something, but then she tried to go and run for office. It was in Czechoslovakia. Um, so it's like, wait a second, you bring back, because Catherine Oxenberg dynasty was, helped bring back all of the elitism and the golden age of the 1980s. Well, these two girls, what are we going to go up against for treason? Then the king, he's the crown prince, or no, crown king or something like that, because his father died. But the king of Greece, his wife is an American billionaire. So like, oh, and they're a part of the whole New York jet set, Jeffrey Epstein stuff. I mean, everybody's in bed together. And this is why there was no there with the Jeffrey Epstein, because it was like, well, no, this is how everybody lives in New York. New York, Paris, London, it's all all related. So of course it's like, oops, no, what happened there was the Me Too women, the whole Me Too movement was like, oh, here, we're going to get some money. We're going to get some money. Well, in their greed, they exposed the whole can of worms. So this is where I said we get into the Spanish family, because this is, Franco, Mussolini was the same thing. So I wish people would stop saying, use the Jew card and for preferential treatment. I mean, like Marianne Seigart. I mean, when I saw that article, I was like, Marianne, you're a real piece of work, real piece of work. And here you are canceling me and not responding to my emails where I'm like, excuse me, you're this celebrity journalist. And this big wig, I don't know, she was like on the board of some nonprofit in England about economics. I'm like, and you're not paying attention to anything that I've posted. This is these elitist boarding schools and stuff. No, everybody's colluding to cover up either they're involved in illegal activity or they're covering it up. So here we get to the Spanish family. I mean, Spain, when I started preparing my own case for the international courts, because I couldn't get any help from any of the lawyers, I read the Spanish Constitution. When I started going through the Spanish Constitution, their penal code, their civil code, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This is like utopian. How can you people be doing this with what you've got to work with? I mean, I'm sorry, either you are real stupid or you're a bunch of psychopaths and hypocrites. Pick your poison. So what, looking into, because as I say, we got to start learning from history, looking into the Spanish royal family. Here you had the King Alfonso the 12th, then the 13th. He was the one who abdicated, and you had Franco that rose to power. But it was Queen Maria Cristina de Boron, Ladrona. So if the point that they made in this video is pretty much, I want to kind of wrap this up, was that she was to say this one person is responsible. It's just like with Andrew Mellon. He's responsible for the crash of 29, or Rudy Singer. He's responsible for the crash of 29 in Vienna. To point to one specific person and say it's all their fault is falling into the extremism trap. But we can use this to some extent. So we want to look at all the corruption in Spain. We can go back to her. She took everything, even the furniture in the castles, and left. And I think she ended up going to France. So that's mother of corruption, and Alfonso, the mother of Alfonso the 13th. So and then her husband, which was Alfonso the 12th of Spain, who was the peacekeeper. I think it was him that I was looking into, that maybe he was gay. And so it wasn't quite sure whether all of the kids were his. Yeah, I mean, really. The royals, the few royals, you better get your shit together, because you're losing your crowns. And the Spanish royal family, I'm hoping, I don't know, because we've got, it was Princess, La Infanta Cristina. So anyway, so let's go through this. So you got King Alfonso, uh, the 13th, he abdicates. Then we get Franco into power. So Franco, I mean, if you want to get into like who was the worst dictator at the time, everybody's screaming about Hitler. I don't know. Franco was, because he really, like, as I said, Guernica, I mean, he was really, really, maybe he was just more democratic about the people that he would kill. Well, pretty much everybody was Catholic, but they didn't like you. There was some story like somebody like said no to him or something, and he just shot him, killed him. Yeah, so as dictators go, he was pretty ruthless. So then you had Juan Carlos, who came in, and when Franco died, in fact, Franco had prepared him to be his successor, and Juan Carlos was, determined that it would be a democracy after Franco's death. However, Juan Carlos shot his brother and killed his brother when Juan Carlos was 18 and his brother was 14. So this was a scandal that was covered up and covered up. And Juan Carlos, he was forced to abdicate in a scandal involving stolen money. There were several things in there. He's been notorious womanizer, and was unfaithful to his wife their entire marriage. And he is, I think, in Saudi Arabia. He had to leave Spain. She stayed there behind, and it's like, why did Queen Sofia tolerate her husband? Well, I mean, it's like getting a divorce is not a cure-all to all of problems. I mean, sometimes it's like, well, yeah, they're not getting along, so she lives in Spain and he lives in the Middle East. And you just kind of leave it at that. Always getting a divorce. I mean, this whole thing of I mean, sometimes, yeah, he wants to go off and live all, like, okay, and let's just leave it at that. I mean, this whole judgment of her, I mean, the poor woman, I mean, for years I heard horrible things about the queen, and how she was stupid and her daughters were stupid, and I mean, yeah. They didn't have a very good PR thing, but also they were puppets. And as I say, there's this utopian constitution, but they're too busy waving from balconies like the British royals. And I'm not an elitist, but the problem is what we saw with Europe time and time again. When they lost the monarchies, you had dictatorships that came in. So I've been trying to rally and trying to tell the royals in Europe, you better come down from your ivory towers, stop with all of the corruption and the affairs. And the Americans, I mean, they've been following that lead forever, and it's got to stop, because that's why Marie Antoinette lost her head. So stop playing Marie Antoinette. Now, I'm hoping, I knocked at all the doors. So, Infanta Cristina, her husband, he was a famous football, I think it's football player, and he was involved in, yeah, I don't know, it wasn't extortion. He was, taking money that wasn't his and from some company or something, and he got sent to prison. Now they tried to, so I guess it was money laundering. But they, they were going to go after her as well and try and put her in prison for it. And it was the innocent spouse. Well, I didn't know what he was doing with the money. I mean, I was a homemaker taking care of the kids, and I didn't know where the money was coming from or anything. So that brings up the issue, and that really gets into what my case in my divorce, and what, one of the issues of spouses, their access, because I still have no idea what the income, what our assets were, what our liabilities, nothing. And I said from day one, and this is why I even went to start going to see lawyers, because I say, I want to see all of the accounts. He will not show it to me. He said he lost all of the money. I don't know. I have no idea. These are my assets legally under the Spanish Civil Code and under the laws of marriage laws. I want to know everything. And I never got any of those records. Excuse me, that's my property. I mean, my house, that's in Spain. Yeah, okay, legally on paper, I still own it, but I can't, for example, I couldn't get any kind of loan off of the house there because it's an asset in a foreign country. Well, if I could have gotten some money there from that, I mean, it's worth about $1 million. So 500,000, well, yeah, I wouldn't be living in a shithole. But I have no access to my my equity. All because I disobeyed my husband and wanted to start a company because he destroyed his career. Now this gets into, so this is why it is extremely important. I mean, all of this bullshit about human rights, I have this right, I have that. I mean, God, everybody talks about it. It's my right. I'm like, I mean, what do you think? You just pull your rights out of the air? No. If your rights are violated and you have nobody to protect them, take your rights and stick it where the sun don't shine, because it ain't worth shit. I mean, my favorite is Erin Eddy from the State Department. She said, "Oh, your civil rights, ladies, try and take that lemon out for a drive. It ain't getting off the curb." So this Carol Ross Joint, she is a journalist. In fact, she got her start because Walter Cronkite had the hots for her. That's how she got involved in the journalism. Then she married a meal ticket husband who didn't end up being such a meal ticket. He was the owner of Nathan's Bar in Washington, which was the watering hole for all of the political bigwigs and the lobbyists back in the 60s and 70s. That's Nathan's at the corner of Wisconsin and M. Well, when he suddenly died, she realized, no, he had loans all over the place. He was bankrupt. He owed the IRS, and she was up a creek without a paddle. Now, she wrote this book, Innocent Spouse, and this is a defense you can use in the courts, which is what Infanta Cristina used of innocent spouse. I didn't know what was going on. Now, in her case, they were going to throw her in prison. In the case of Carol Joint, they just wanted the money, like $1 million or something. She's like, I don't have it. So who becomes liable for that? Well, it was in fact Brendan Sullivan. He's mentioned in her book. I contacted Brendan Sullivan. You know, he was like, well, you better go and find another law firm that wasn't the accounting firm for your husband while he had the company, because they got a conflict of interest there. My point is, why is she held accountable for all the crap that was going on and the money? Sorry. The money owed for the IRS. Shouldn't the accountants, who are supposed to be on top of that, have a higher legal liability for the debt to the IRS than an innocent spouse? No, let's throw it on the innocent spouse, because the accountants, which were part of the law firm, screwed up. So let's throw it on her. See, and so I even went to her book signing. This was in 2011. And I said, oh, please, can you help me? You know, I've been working on women's rights, and you know, I read your book, and this is a very important issue and stuff. She was like, oh no, I don't want to get involved. By this time, Nathan's, she'd given up on that. She had no experience in running a restaurant. She took it over. Of course, it went bust. She even ended up further in debt. And then she goes and she tries to reignite her career as a journalist. Well, she's on the list of all of the social media influencers and journalists that I want to see in court under treason, like Axis Sally. You know, I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible. The family court reform activists hoped, it was in 2002 that the Boston Globe came out with the scandal of how this sexual abuse by priests was being covered up at the highest levels in the Catholic Church. Same thing is going on in family courts. And they were like, oh, great, now we'll get it for the family courts. Oh, no. That's just the religious people we're going to go after. The courts, the secular people who are doing it, we're not going to touch them with a 10-foot pole. Because you know, you have pedophiles, you have rapists, you have murderers. That terrorizes your community, and you can justify, we need more police in order to go after all of these criminals. See the conflict of interest? So, tragedy of Princess Leonor of Spain. So, the feminists have really dug themselves into a hole in Spain, because the queen right now, Queen Letizia, she was a commoner and journalist. You might see where I'm going with this one. So not only is she covering up all of this shit as a journalist and involved in just propaganda, because believe me, I've got as many names of journalists. For example, one of them here in Washington, Pablo Pardo, of El Mundo. He's gotten emails from me for years and years and years and years. And in fact, we'll see, he was at in a panel discussion that I asked a question at. So anyway, so we have Queen Letizia. I mean, that woman is a real piece of work. Not only did she just, I mean, she cozied up to Queen Sophia until she got married, and then you talk about your little having it all feminist bitch. Um, and she's really in bed with the UN. So this is really problematic for Spain because my case challenges González Carreño versus versus Spain 2014. That's a CEDAW, Convention Elimination Discrimination Against Women. We've got Women's League Worldwide involved in that. But as I said, I'm trying to kick the royals in the butt and tell them, get your shit together and start, taking control. You are the head of the executive branch. Now, I know, you know, this is everybody's gonna be in an uproar. The politicians, they've been very, very happy to have the royals waving from balconies and being nothing but puppets and going and doing all of the award ceremonies and getting in line and doing all of that bullshit. And they're not looking at who's pocketing who and who's in the pocket of who. And that is their job. Ultimately, it is the Queen and King who are responsible for the implementation of the Spanish Constitution. So, King Felipe, get your house in order and tell your wife to shut up. Because she is, I mean, I haven't totally researched, but I saw some stuff and I was like, oh God, she is totally in bed with the UN, which, as I say, these are the woke factions. She's a terrorist. She's an enemy. She's a traitor to her country. Oh, and then to boot, I see she had an affair. She's sleeping around behind her husband's back. I mean, not only is she a gold digger, but then she's an unfaithful one. I mean, the woman is a piece of work. So that leaves in question. See, as I say, I'm not trying to call for anybody's abdication, but I'm trying to say that's what I'm going to be calling for if you don't start doing your job. Now, her daughter is, because they only have two daughters, so her daughter, Leonore, is, and in fact, that's what she wants. Her daughter is going to become the queen. Now, she is queen, but she's like queen consort. So her daughter is going to become the queen and the head of Spain. Yes, well, she might just find her head on chopping block. Well, don't do that anymore. But yeah, you get the picture. And my God, of course, no, that's not what I want. I'm trying to avoid bloodshed because Spain is headed down the same path. And I mean, if anything, I mean, I was so furious. That is what has made me more furious than anything else with my husband. Not the money. I mean, hell, with my global expat stuff, I've been making more money and that's what pissed him off and pissed off my mom and pissed off my siblings. Here I was and pissed off the feminists. Well, here I was. Yeah, I had been a stay-at-home mom. He destroys his career, just like Infanta Cristina. Okay, I'm going to step up to the plate and I'm going to start providing for my family because that's what I have to do. Oh, God, no. That the having it all feminist, nothing's going to piss them off more than to see a homemaker who doesn't fall apart because of a divorce, or her husband destroys his career, dies, or leaves her for a cute young thing. And she doesn't fall apart, because then that destroys their whole narrative. And also, we're a threat to them. So yeah, that hopefully Christina, Infanta Cristina, because of course Leticia is never going, we're never going to be good buddy friends. Yeah, I don't see that happening. So yeah, I mentioned Women's Link Worldwide. They were the lead counsel on González Carreño versus Spain. That was 2014, over 10 years ago. Now, we have 60,000 women who are killed each year by family members. In Spain, it's about, well, anywhere between 50 to 70. So let's say 60 per year. Well, that's 600 in the past 10 years, just in Spain alone. 60,000, 10 years, 600,000. Then let's see, in overdose, we have 600,000 per year that die of drug overdose. That's all related to, I mean, all of us. It's shown domestic abuse is the motor behind all of the drug problems. Then we have, let's see, 200,000 people each year that commit suicide. Everybody's just hoping that I mean, my sister, just give up. Like, what are you suggesting? I should go and jump off a bridge? Like Alan Dershowitz' first wife? Yeah, well, that's not happening. So, why I have prepared, I mean, my case, I had finished exhausting domestic remedies in 2012. Now, why has Women Linked Worldwide not helped me submit and follow up with this jurisprudence, which the Spanish defense was inadmissibility due to judicial error and a failure to exhaust domestic remedies? Well, I show this is not an error. The lawyers, the judges, all of the assholes in the courts are doing it on purpose, or because they're stupid or discriminate, bias, whatever. But it's not an error. Oops. Yeah. Oops. Lots of people are getting killed because of your oops. And domestic remedies, I'm like, ooh, I exhausted domestic remedies in Spain at the international level as well. So I've exhausted domestic remedies all over the place. I've contacted them. Baltasar Garzon is another that I contacted, and Amal Clooney. We've been contacting them for years, and we just get attitude. I'm like, okay, well, you're going to have to explain yourself in the Nuremberg trials too, because that's where we're going. Oh, Antonio Banderas, I love, yeah. Let's play that one.
Up to 60% of women around the world experience some form of physical or sexual abuse during their life. And as many as half of all sexual assaults are committed against girls under the age of 16. 2 million women and girls are trafficked each year into prostitution, forced labor, slavery,
National UN development. I mean, see, propaganda, propaganda, propaganda. I mean, when we got the ICC filing years ago, I contacted, well, see, there was Kelly Rutherford. I don't know if anybody knows who Kelly Rutherford. She is a Gossip Girl actress. Her children were deported by an American judge to Monaco, where her husband was living. This is in a custody battle. Her children had been born in the United States, had never lived abroad, were toddlers, but no, they were sent to live in Monaco because her husband was in Monaco and he couldn't come to the United States because the State Department had put him on a no entry list. Why? Why would he can't come into the United States, yet a judge is handing over his kids to him? It's like, excuse me, what is the guy involved in that he can't come into the United States, that the State Department has put him on a, not entry? Yet you're sending kids, American kids, to another country to live with him. I mean, the whole thing was crazy. Now, Wendy Murphy had her hand in that, and I want to know why that. I think I know the answer to that one. But so anyway, we got the Kelly Rutherford case. Now, they started a nonprofit because, of course, her legal fees from Wendy Murphy were skyrocketing. So she starts a nonprofit to raise money to pay for her legal fees. Of course, the nonprofit says it's helping children. No, it was used to pay for her legal fees. And Melanie Griffith, who had been an expat in the Marbella area for many, many years when she was married to Antonio Banderas, put on a with what was that, Jenner, the guy who was the Olympic winner, and he got a sex change operation. I forget what his name is. Is it something Jenner? So they had a fundraiser in Hollywood with champagne and all to pay for Kelly Rutherford's legal fees. I'm sorry, you cannot start a nonprofit to get somebody to pay for their legal fees of some actress. I mean, it is incredible. It's done all of the time. I mean, fraudulent nonprofits, they're a dime a dozen, a dime a dozen. I mean, my favorite, what is it? Not Without My Daughter, Betty Mahmoudi. She started in the 80s. That was 1987. This whole thing of, us Muslim women coming to the West where we can realize our dreams to publish a book, start a fraudulent nonprofit, and get up and give lots of speeches about how horrible the Muslims are and how horrible the Arabs are. And I think by 2011, she had $50 million when she closed up her nonprofit. Pretty nice. And that was all lie, all a lie, all a lie. So here we have Reyes Monforte, she's a Spanish woman. Her book, Burka de Amor, was another same type of deal, a story that came out in 2008 in Spain. As did her book, Amor Cruel, which was the story about Maria Jose Carrascosa, who was sitting in a New Jersey prison in a custody battle. Now, when I read the book, I was like, holy shit, because I'm in Spain fighting. This is 2010 now, because this would have been the 2008. And I forget the Burka de Amor had come out before that. But I read that book and I was like, holy shit. Because my ex, the idea was to have him be locked up in a psychiatric ward, like my mother had done with my father. This gets into the Freud stuff. yeah, I've been all over the map on that. I mean, this is also why my siblings want to shut me up because I'm going to expose my father never had any, oh, the psychological problems with my mother, just like with my ex-husband. And the idea was to get me in, and it's in the court documents. I mean, was to have me put in a psychiatric ward, and even said, I'm going to dope you up for the rest of your life, and you're going to be closed up. You know, you'll be thrown in there. And my mother, her idea, well, see, by the time I was thwarting either he was going to kill me, he was going to get me in a psychiatric ward, he would end up killing me because when the violence got so bad, I did file a complaint. And that's where I got everybody who turned against me, his family, everybody. I'm like, you guys don't want to do anything. I kept on telling you, my God, would you tell him to calm down, to stop? No, we don't want to get involved. We don't want to get involved. Nobody wants to get involved. But then, oh no, the problem is that we don't have enough money and resources to help these victims. No, you don't have any lawyers who know what they're doing. See, it's a whole scam. It's a whole scam. And these PhDs and all of these experts are just raking in the money while women and children and men are dropping like flies. I mean, what Amal Clooney is doing, I keep on saying the only thing that you all are doing is justifying, producing the propaganda to justify the unending wars in the Middle East. And, Baltasar Garzon, he's another one in Spain that needs to answer some questions. He's He became famous going after Pinochet and universal jurisdiction. Now, I thought at the time, I was like, oh, wow, this is great. This is, the legal system, we're progressing. No, it was a whole agenda of the liberals. And he just turned around and started another nonprofit. As they say in Spain, the only thing Baltasar Garzon cares about is getting up on a podium and give a speech. So he's another nonprofit, and it's even a whole school that he started in the southern Spain that needs to be investigated for fraudulent activity. And just blah, 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 blah. I mean, a lot of what these people are saying, it's not wrong, and it's true, but nobody wants to do anything about it. Here's another one of Pierce Morgan. Yeah, this is the Marbella one. Let me play you this one first, because this is going on everywhere. This is not just a problem with Spain. real cheap.
This would increase the rate of homeownership from 45% in 1950 to 70% in 1970. In Barcelona, it was even more extreme. Just 5% of people owned their home in 1950, and by 1970, this figure had risen to 38%. Franco helped Spain become a nation of homeowners. After Franco's death, Spain joined the European Economic Area and they opened their doors to tourism. The ticket became the Summer Olympics. These were held in 1992 in Barcelona, and in preparation for this event, the city invested massively in its infrastructure, factories, well-purified parks, fishermen's huts, and beaches for sunbathing tourists. The city was transformed into a mecca for urban tourism, and this helped revamp as an attractive holiday destination. So this was all done by design. The economy of Spain was shrinking. It was extremely high unemployment. And that's because the manufacturing sector was declining. And to solve these issues, they restructured the economy with tourism at its heart. And more tourism meant more demand for property. But since the rate of homeownership had risen to 84% on a national level, one of the highest rates in Europe, rising property costs would increase the net worth of many Spaniards. It all seemed to make a lot of sense. The booming construction sector created tens of thousands of new jobs as they built hundreds of thousands of new homes every single year. With a record in 2006, on paper this all looks great. The economy of Spain more than doubled in size in just a few years. But things all came crashing down. Okay, but first I need to take a little bit of a break because I live here in Spain and it's getting really, really hot. I live in Barcelona and I'm an expert and I'm going to get into how our group of people fit into this entire story. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. I usually finish my day on this note.
Okay, so here's the sponsor.
Outpacing most other countries, but it crashed twice as hard. Their impressive growth was fueled by easy credit, lax regulation, and a construction sector that was building homes to sell as an investment, not as a place to live. The crash led to the unemployment rate to rise from a near historic low of 8% to an all-time high of 26%, meaning that now 1 in every 4 adults was unemployed. It was a disaster like Spain had never seen before. Most of the job loss was caused by the collapse of the construction sector. This was the main driver of employment in the early 2000s, and Spain needed another industry to take its place. The EU was providing generous funding to Spain to get out of this troubled position, and the Spanish government then decided to invest this in boosting its tourism infrastructure, especially in places that economically depended on this source of income, like the Mediterranean and the Canary Islands. Then, following the Arab Spring, many tourists decided not to visit popular destinations in North Africa, like Tunisia, Egypt, and Turkey, and this contributed to a boost of tourism to Spain. The number of tourists that visited Spain rose by 34% over just those 5 years. They invested this in refurbishing their coastal towns, beaches, and marketing campaigns, and they deregulated the short-term rental market to make room for services like Airbnb. All these efforts led in 2017 to Spain overtaking the US and becoming the second most visited country in the world. This was a major accomplishment, and tourism acted as a stabilizing force in the Spanish economy, but it wasn't providing the same high-paying jobs as construction and manufacturing, and added immense pressure on the housing market. Spain, before the market crash, built over 500,000 new homes every year. That was way more than they needed, but now they were building just 90,000 homes per year, less than half what was required to meet the rising demand. So I found this one graph that illustrates the problem perfectly. See this? This is how much the salaries of young people have risen in the past 10 years, about 23%, while in
Okay. So, does anybody see a pattern emerging? This is the same story. The guy who did this, um, hindsight. Here, he does a lot of videos. I would definitely the Florida bubble about to burst. Um, his definitely recommend his analysis and what he's doing. Because it everybody over at the IMF and World Bank should start looking at that stuff. Uh, care. They know. They know. That's why they want to shut me up, just like everybody else. Um, now, having shown that, this here's Piers Morgan.
€1,000 for a bottle of champagne.
Oops. Let's start over again with this one. Double O 007 type of stuff. Okay, let's go. I agree. Yeah, there are people. Okay, yeah, he hit it on the nail. Oh, I hate Marbella. Um, yeah, when I know the region very well. Uh, I got married in Spain in 1990. My in-laws had bought as an investment, one of these houses that they were building. They bought it in the 80s. It was a condominium, but this is below Marbella, south of Marbella, between Estepona and Marbella, which is the municipality is San Pedro de Alcántara. And yeah, let's just, not the luxury. It was one of these, what they saw asado, and it was a little conjunto with, it had, let's see, what's it, two or three bedrooms upstairs. I think it was three, yeah, three, but very, very small. Can't remember if it had two baths, but anyway, small place. We used to go there, let's see, with my two babies, his brother, the girlfriend, his parents, then the aunt and uncle. I mean, we packed in like sardines. And this is when my children are very, very small. People are sleeping. I'm like, we did this when I was in college, but you guys, have you ever heard of a hotel? Um, so there's everybody camping out in the living room. We're in the room with the two babies, and I'm getting up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning, and everybody else is sleeping in until like 11 noon. So I have to go out and either hang out by the pool or take my kids out in the poussette, the baby carriage, and walk them around or something. And this was a month. We would go on vacation for months. So anyway, yeah, not the luxury like that, but we did go down there. Now, I would have liked a little bit more room, but see, yeah, these houses, I'm like, with that kind of money, no. Oh, I would buy a farm or something, and some land. There's some beautiful old homes to be renovated. I mean, it's just obscene. It's obscene, the whole Marbella and the Portabanus. So as I said, for many years we would go down and spend the vacation down in that area. We would always go to Marbella. I mean, Marbella, you go to the old section of Marbella. It is beautiful, but it is the whole, tourist scene and tourist crowd. Uh, but then we had a timeshare, that the bank that my ex-husband, BBVA, they'd come out with something. They had been left with one of these properties because this was a typical story. They built, and then all of a sudden they can't sell everything. So they had one of these properties. So with the employees, we're going to do a timeshare. That was a good deal. And so we had it for many, many years. We used to, particularly when we were living in Colombia, we would exchange it and go someplace else. So we only went a few times. Um, but I was like, no, I hate coming here. I hate coming here. We were at the interior of Puerto Banús. Of course, we're We're not on the we're not on, beachfront property by any means. And so I was like, oh my God, we got to get in the car just to get to Puerto Banús and then, try and get to a beach. That's even worse. I was like, this is August. Our the timeshare that we had was August. I was like, are you kidding? The traffic jams here are worse than anything you're going to see in Madrid the rest of the year. I've got a beautiful house in Madrid. I'd prefer to stay at my house in Madrid with the garden and our vacation. I can cook, and here we're in an apartment. We got to go downstairs. I don't have my kitchen. I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't think this is vacation, because we got to anything. We're gonna get in the car, and it takes us 30 minutes just to get out of Puerto Banús, which is like a 5-minute drive. So I was like, and just the most pretentious, obnoxious people. Okay, so yeah, this is my neighbor in Madrid. This is the typical. The typical. Oops. So yeah, okay. So anyway, you see the deal. So this is dear to my heart. I mean, when Amnesty International estimated that I had 1/4 of 1% chance of survival in Madrid when I'm going through my divorce, and I mean, Nicole, unlike you guys, not only Nicole but Clemencia, and I'm like, they're doing this, they're doing that. And she literally, she said, "I'm not listening to you. I'm not listening to." Literally, she did that in my face, and I was like, "You little bitch." I mean, see, this is the typical thing. Now, what this charity that's so dear to her heart is this butterfly of Deborah. It's a very, very, very rare skin condition, but extremely rare. And oh, we're going to have this gala dinner, and we're going to have raise all of this money. See this whole stuff of, I don't want to get involved in any unpleasantness. Now, the British community down there, Pierce Morgan said it was like 300,000 that live down there. I mean, there's absolutely nothing to stop the Spanish government seizing their assets and throwing them out of the country. It's been done, I don't know how many times. So, I mean, Nicole, when I saw, oh, you're down in Marbella and you got this whole, you're another social media influencer, journalist, call themselves journalists. Well, yeah, when comes time to pay the piper, you're gonna have to pay. Here's another. This is my other Clemencia. She was my neighbor. La moda, la moda, la moda. I mean, come on, Pilar. Okay, so Pilar Castaño, she's like the queen of la moda of in Colombia. I don't know what you would call her. Oh, I guess the Anna Winter of Colombia. Um, she is the mother of one of my son's best friends, Alejandro Uribe. I mean, it's like, oh, I've been canceled. Well, one of the things that pisses me off with, oh, and she's good friends with Ralph Lauren, who a lot of his clothes are produced in Colombia. Well, this is one of the things that's pissing me off with all of the international trade. Live in Colombia, you can't find decent clothing for your family. You go to the United States, go to all the people who can afford it, they go to Florida every year, go to the outlets, fill up their suitcases. Some of the clothes are made in Colombia. They have a huge textile industry in Medellin. Levi's, Ralph Lauren makes it there, but you can't find decent clothing because it's exported. Now, some of it is re-imported and sold as luxury imported goods. Um, so, Pilar Castaño, this is another thing, you're just another cog in the system of, why the whole global economy has not been productive. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So Clemencia, as I say, she was my neighbor in Bogota and then in Madrid, and she saw everything that I went through. She was when my whole thing exploded. She was a good friend of somebody who was dating Alec Baldwin at the time. And where is this? Alec Baldwin calls his daughter a pig.
Well, let's
This
listen
came
to
out.
Alec Baldwin.
Okay, yeah, that had come out at the time. I had heard that, but I had also been, all of a sudden, I'd never been in a courtroom in my life, and I'm like, what are you people pulling here? So when I heard that, I was like, wait a second, okay, that's not very good to call your daughter a pig. Um, but I also knew how and the lawyers and the courts, they just want to fight and fight and fight and fight, and then, oh, let's get some dirt. It is disgusting how everybody is inciting that and profiting for it. And as I say, Clemencia, her good friend, was dating Alec Baldwin at the time. I mean, I have connections with all of these people who could be using their voice, who could be using their platforms to be exposing all of the things that I've been posting, all of the information I've been posting on the internet for years and years and years. But nobody wants to get involved in any unpleasantness. And I'm like, when they tell that to me, I'm like, you are involved. You live in a community. If you don't want to become involved, go and live out in the countryside, go in the woods all by your little lonesome. But if you want to live in a community, you want to live in a country, you're involved. You have a responsibility. Ingrid Betancourt, who's another, from Colombia. She was a presidential candidate in Colombia in 2002. She was kidnapped by the FARC, let out 2008, I think it was, and been studying human rights and theology in Oxford ever since. And then in 2022, she again ran for president of Colombia. Oh, and everybody wants to be president. So, is anybody seeing that this history is just repeating itself and repeating itself? So, is Stephen Miller the new Joseph Goebbels, whatever they call him? Yeah. Is Trump Hitler? Well, yeah. Franco, Hitler, Mussolini, whatever you want to call him. But it's not. You could replace Trump. It was Biden and still be the same can of worms. I mean, okay, you're having the right, the alt-right, in the backlash to the mess that the liberals have created. Now the conservatives, nobody is an angel here. Everybody is at fault, because I mean, my mother gets into the conservatives, Arizona, Republican Party, Goldwater, my mother, McCain. Now you have the Charlie Kirk stuff. That's all Arizona. That's all Arizona Republican Party. Mike Helen, he's over there. His son died. His son, Scott Helen, he used to do vampire movies. And I was like, of course we got all of these vampire movies, coming out of Hollywood. You people are bloodsuckers. So, I don't know. Is anybody starting to see a trend here? So I'll end it up for today there. Hopefully somebody will start looking at this stuff. I have highly doubt it. We're going to end up with another third world war. Inevitable.